Hey everyone, welcome back to Big Strong Book. I'm Reed, and today we are going over Chapter 3 of Stone of Farewell, Oathbreaker. So we open with Simon, and this entire chapter takes place within the mountain of Mintahawk, as Simon and Juriki attempt to persuade the hunter and the huntress to ease up, at the very least, on the sentences of Benebik and Sludig, because as we learned in the first chapter, Benebik and Sludig have been imprisoned by the Econuk. Benebik on some that he did a grievous wrong in the past, though Simon isn't aware of what that is yet, although we find out this chapter. And then Sludig, because he's a Rimmersman, and the Rimmersmen historically have been pretty bad people to the Econuk. So that was more like almost a preemptive imprisonment of Sludig. And Simon, the night of the meeting, dreams of the great wheel that he, of course, as we know, has seen many times. Simon was bound helplessly to the wheel, a limb at each quarter of the heavy rim. It turned him not only topside down, as Lord Osiris had suffered upon the tree, but spun him around and around in an earthless void of black sky. The stars' bleak radiance blurred before him like the tails of comets. Something else, some shadowy, icy thing, whose laugh was the empty buzzing of flies, danced just beyond his sight, mocking him. And then he sees the dark-haired girl again, who calls his name. But he ends up just deciding to go out into the night. Can't sleep. And he finds Kintaka. Kintaka's out there. And he thinks that she recognizes him. And Kintaka leads him somewhere. It seemed that Kintaka had led him halfway around Mintahawk. She stood now at the edge of a great blackness, yipping in excitement. Simon walked forward cautiously, feeling the raw stone face of the mountain with his right hand as he went. Kintaka paced in seeming impatience. And he realizes that he has happened upon Sludig. And Sludig tells Simon the troll will not speak. He is here, but he will not speak to me, to Juriki when he came, or to anyone. Is he sick? Benebik, it's Simon. Why don't you answer me? He is sick in his heart, I think, Sludig said. He looks as he always did, thinner perhaps, but so am I too. But he acts like one already dead. Juriki says they will kill us, the Rimmersman said a moment later, his voice flat with resignation. The Sitha spoke for us, not with heat or anger, as far as I could tell, but he spoke for us all the same. And again, Simon tries to make contact with Benebik, but Benebik just doesn't want to talk to him. And so he continues to walk, and there are just a couple, interesting statements here. He wondered for a moment if those cold stars might somehow be the airless peaks of other incredibly distant mountains, vast bodies lost in darkness, snow-capped heads gleaming with reflected moonlight. But no, that was foolishness. Where could they be standing that they would not be visible in daylight beneath the bright sun? And eventually, he comes across a trio of small dark shapes in the cliff face. One of them moves forward. And he realizes it's a troll woman, and he says, no, I'm just following the wolf, and he's able to make his way past. So then we jump to the next day, and Juriki says, I'm truly sorry, but there's nothing to be done. Last night, Reniku, the star we call Summer Lantern, appeared above the horizon at sundown. I have stayed too long. I can remain no longer. But what will we do about Benedict and Simon? They'll be killed if you don't do something. There's nothing I can do in any circumstance, Jariki said quietly. The Kanak have a right to their justice. I cannot honorably interfere. And he says, perhaps there is no defense that can be had for Benedict or for Sludig. And Jariki says, I believe I have thought of something that will let you do what you need to do and help Benedict and Sludig too. You only need to do one thing. You must go with me to see the king and queen, the herder and the huntress. Because I believe here, let me just pass through this. That's right. I think what they agreed here is to have Benedict translate everything. I just lost that here. And so as Jariki leaves, he gives Simon the mirror that had at once shown him Uriel, and he says, I give it to you. It has been a talisman of my family's since Gengiana of the Nightingales tended fragrant gardens in the shade of Seni Anzin. Away from me, it will no longer be anything but a looking glass. No, that is not quite true. If you must speak with me or have need of me, true need, tell the mirror, I will hear or know. And Jariki says, talk of goblin stories, Simon. The white arrow, the black sword, a golden ring, and a Scythian glass. You are so weighted down with significant booty that you will clank when you walk. He says he still doesn't know what the writing means on the inside of the ring. Benedict couldn't read it either, except for something about dragons and death. And Jariki says, I cannot tell you more about the ring. If the wise man Morganus did not provide for your understanding when he said, then I will not presume to tell. And Jariki leaves. So the next morning, they go to Chitsk Ub Lingit, which is, I believe, that's the spot where this trial of sorts will be held. And as they move in, Sludig is there. He says, had I but a sword. And Hasten says, take more than swords, friends. They may be small but stern, and look at the Osiris cursed numbers of them. And Benedict, and old Simon tells Benedict, we've come to speak for you. And then Nunica and Umanuk, Nunica the huntress, Umanuk the herder, come out. And another troll follows out, and Simon notices that she is a young woman. And Benedict says, it seems that you and Hasten are guests of my masters, and that I must render these proceedings into a speech you can understand, since no one else here speaks both tongues. And Simon asks Benedict, what have you done? Or what do they think you've done? And Benedict tells him, I've broken an oath. He says, the huntress says I have had time enough to explain. Now my crimes must be dragged out into the line for inspecting. And they said because Ukakuk had a duty to appear at the ice house on the winter last day. Kangaluk said that Benebik, the singing man's apprentice, also did not come to the ice house. Since Ukakuk's apprentice did not come to do his duty, to sing the rite of quickening, the ice house still has not melted. Because the ice house isn't melted, winter will not leave Ikunuk. Through his treachery, Benebik has doomed his people to a bitter season. The summer will not come, and many will die. Kangaluk calls him Oathbreaker. And the young woman comes forward, Siskianamuk, or Siski, and notes that though he placed his spear before her door, when 9 times 9 days had passed and the appointed day of marriage came, he was gone. And Simon is kind of blown away, and he's like, wait a minute. Benebik was betrothed. That's the big oath that he broke. And she is the daughter of the hunter and the huntress. And she was the one who he saw the night before. And Benebik mentions to them, like, why did he decide to break his oath? Well, Benebik says what we by this point understand he's going to say. My master Ukakuk made a promise to Dr. Morganus of the Hayholt, a very wise man of Erkenland. With my master dead, I felt it was my place to keep his promise. My master had fears of grave danger, not just to Ikunuk, but to all the world beyond the mountains as well. Ukakuk feared a winter coming far worse than any we have experienced, one that would leave the ice house hard frozen for 1,000 black years. And it was far more than only evil weather that Ukakuk foresaw. Morganus shared his fears. And they say it is no argument at all. If I feared loose snow in the upper passes, should I then never leave my cave? And eventually Simon kind of snaps and he says, no, you don't understand what is happening or what Benebik has done. In the mountains here, the world is far away, but there is danger that can reach you, he says. In the castle where I once lived, it seemed to me that evil was only something talked about by the priests, and that even they do not truly believe in it. Now I know better. There are dangers all around us, and they are growing stronger every day. Don't you see? Benebik and I have been chased by this evil all through the great forest, and across the snows below these mountains. It followed us even to the Dragon Mountain. And something grabs his mind. It says, and he tumbles forward, and he just kind of almost blacks out, and he sees the child who haunted his dreams. And now he realizes it was Lelith, the girl from all the way back in the dragon bone chair that they left at Jaloi's house. And then he sees her speaking, but it's Jaloi's voice. And Jaloi says, my house is burning. Or in my house, but not long, my fences have been thrown down, and my lake is full of dark things. She says, what I have to tell you is this: Naglamund has fallen, Elias has won the day. But the real victor is he of whom we both know, the Dark One in the north. Joshua, however, is alive. And she says, Miriamel is gone from Naglamund. And she says, you must go to the Stone of Farewell. That is the only place of safety from the growing storm. Safety for a little while, anyway. Go to the Stone of Farewell. And Simon says, where's the stone? Like, you're saying the Stone of Farewell. Name of the book. Where is the stone? She said, it is the only place of safety. Flee. The storm is coming. Because, of course, if he knew how to get to the Stone of Farewell, well, this book wouldn't be 700 pages now, would it? And he realizes that he wakes up and Hasten is by him. And he says, Jaloi said she saw the storm and the Stone of Farewell. We must get to the stone. He said, what's Benebik doing? Because Benebik is kneeling before the dais. And Umanok says something in the Connacht tongue to Benedict, and Simon felt a chill descend, heavier and bleaker even than winter's cold. He knew beyond doubt that his friend had been given a judgment of death. So that is the end of chapter 3. Don't really have a whole lot of spoilers. Things beyond, I guess, one more thing to add. Simon realizes that Benedict probably loves Siski, this woman who he was betrothed to, by the way he speaks to her. So there's that. So not really any spoiler things to discuss. Obviously, Stone of Farewell, that's a big development. Obviously, the name of the book. So that will be a big focal point for this plot thread going forward, is trying to figure out what the Stone of Farewell is, where it is, and all of that. So yeah, that is chapter 3. So, chapter 3. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next time.